Imagine you're standing on the trading floor of the London Stock Exchange in the year 1945. You're surrounded by men in bowler hats shouting orders by marble pillars carved with the names of colonial territories. Above your head hangs the Union Jack. Around you flows the global financial system. Every international trade settlement, every cross-border loan, every commodity purchase from wheat to oil to gold is denominated in British pound sterling. You are standing in the capital of the global reserve currency, an empire that spans 1/4 of the Earth's land mass, an empire that has dominated global finance for 200 years. If you tapped a British banker on the shoulder in 1945 and told him that in just 11 years in 1956, Britain would lose its entire empire and the pound would become worthless on the global stage, he would have called you insane. Britain just won World War II. We defeated Hitler. We still have the Royal Navy. The pound is backed by the Bank of England, the most powerful financial institution on earth. The system is too big to fail. Now fast forward to today. Stand on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Look at the digital tickers flashing across every screen. Look at the 800 military bases America maintains in 80 countries across the globe. Observe how every barrel of oil, every international debt instrument, every central bank reserve is denominated in US dollars. If I told you that by the year 2027 the dollar would lose its reserve currency status and America's global dominance would be finished, you would have the exact same reaction as that British banker in 1945. You would say America is too big to fail. The dollar is backed by the US military. The system is permanent. But history is not a collection of random events. It is a pattern. It is a cycle that repeats with mathematical precision. And the pattern that destroyed British financial dominance in 11 years is not just similar to America's current situation. It is identical. The same mechanism, the same timeline, the same fatal mistake. And we are not at the beginning of this cycle. We are 11 years in. We are at 1956. We are at the breaking point. The scariest thing about the fall of the British pound is not that it happened. It is how fast it happened once the crack appeared. From 1945 to 1956, just 11 years, Britain went from controlling global finance to being a second-rate power, begging the International Monetary Fund for loans. And the mechanism that killed the pound is the exact mechanism killing the dollar right now. Today in 2026, we are going to hold up a mirror. We are going to show you the blueprint, and we are going to prove to you that 2027 is not just a random year. It is the mathematical endpoint of a reserve currency cycle that has already entered its terminal phase. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is documented economic history. And once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. To understand the end, we have to understand the beginning. Britain did not always have the global reserve currency. In the early 1800s, multiple currencies competed: the Dutch guilder, the French franc, the Spanish peso. But Britain had something the others did not: gold. Vast amounts of gold flowing in from colonial conquests. India, Africa, Australia. This gold allowed Britain to do something revolutionary. In 1821, Britain officially adopted the gold standard. The British pound became a receipt for a specific weight of gold. 1 pound sterling equaled 113 grains of pure gold. This was not a promise. This was a contract. If you held a pound note, you could walk into the Bank of England and exchange it for actual gold, no questions asked. This created something extraordinary. Trust merchants in New York and Shanghai and Buenos Aires all wanted to be paid in British pounds because pounds were as good as gold. Better than gold, actually, because pounds could be transmitted by telegraph and gold had to be physically shipped. The pound became the global reserve currency, not through military force, but through monetary credibility. By 1900, 60% of global trade was denominated in pounds. When a Japanese company bought American wheat, they settled the transaction in pounds. When a German bank loaned money to a Brazilian railroad, the loan was denominated in pounds. The pound was the global unit of account. This created an extraordinary privilege for Britain. Because everyone needed pounds, Britain could borrow at incredibly low interest rates. The British government issued debt and the whole world bought it because holding British government bonds was considered as safe as holding gold. This allowed Britain to run permanent trade deficits. Britain could import more than it exported because the world was willing to hold pounds forever. This is the reserve currency privilege. You can print paper and the world gives you real goods. You export inflation and import prosperity. Britain used this privilege to build the greatest empire in history. But then came WWII from 1914 to 1918. Britain spent blood and treasure on an unprecedented scale. 886,000 British soldiers died. The cost was $96 billion, which in today's money is over $1 trillion. Britain's national debt went from 30% of GDP to 1/4% of GDP. To fund this war, Britain did something it had never done before: suspended the gold standard. In 1914, the Bank of England announced that pounds would no longer be convertible to gold for the duration of the emergency. This was supposed to be temporary, but here's the thing about